the Rams host the Minnesota Vikings, and we are about to pop out official picks. And we do have some graphics that I'm going to have to update manually here, speaking out the numbers, because the markets are shifting this afternoon on a couple of these props relating to mainly the Rams with this Puka Nacua news. Before we get into it, let's take a look at how we're doing right now. And still good, even though last week wasn't as good. Did go 3-0 last Thursday night, but 64-26. I'm still being told that that's good, and I believe that's 71%. The specials are pretty good here. 10 out of, actually, I believe that's 16. Yeah, that's not bad. 10-6 when we go a little weird on the Thursday night special, which is kind of like a low-end guy or a very high-risk guy. Hopefully, my official picks that I'm putting out right now are not really high risk, although one of them is scaring me just a little bit given this Puka news. But we will start with Jordan Addison. I'm in, and I like how, well, this thing has been kicked down a little bit here. I'll look right now, just so we get it official, on DraftKings. I believe it was 43.5, and that's what we're going to go in on right here. 43.5. Of course, last night when I was eyeballing this puppy, it was 39.5. So don't love that. But I do like the matchup here. If you missed the earlier portion of the program, we can go over all of it here. As I'd mentioned, he has missed a couple of games, has Jordan Addison. But the game 2 weeks ago against the Jets, I didn't like him at all in that game because I figured he would see a good amount of Sauce Gardner, which I believe happened. And, bad matchup, tough matchup, as tough as it gets, really, if you're on Sauce Gardner. So if you exclude that game, in his other 3 games, very efficient has Jordan Addison been. 12 targets, 9 grabs, a $173 with a touch. I mean, that's 19.2 yards a catch with a 75% catch rate. As I've mentioned, the Rams are a perimeter funnel because they are really, really tough against opposing slot receivers. They allow the second fewest schedule-adjusted fantasy points per game to inside receivers. They've also allowed the 5th most yards per game on deep passes, 54, which is kind of Addison's deal. JJ gets him downfield too, but hey, last week, look no further than last week, Addison caught a ball for 50 yards with massive air yards under the throw. And finally, the Rams do run the 5th highest rate of cover 3, and Addison is averaging a pretty damn strong 2.61 fantasy points per route run and 0.25 targets per route run on 28 routes against cover 3 per fantasy points data. So I think we'll see at least one big play to Jordan Addison, and he covers this number. And look, hey, if Puka is out there, great for this one at least, because that would probably mean a few more pass attempts for Sam Darnold as the Rams kind of basically go all in on week 8 to keep their season alive. At least that's our theory. Next up, this is weird because of what I just said about Puka and Cooper Kupp. But, and by the way, this has been bet down. So I'm taking this at a lower number than I was in on earlier today, unfortunately for yours truly. 33.5 receiving yards for Tutu Atwell. He's been very, very good. He's been more like 3-3 as opposed to 1-1. Tutu is getting it done here. He's emerged as the most consistent option in the offense without Kupp and Nacua. He's got 48 or more yards in 5 straight games. Jordan Whittington will not play, and the Vikings are allowing the 2nd most receiving yards per game to outside receivers. And they have allowed the 3rd most schedule-adjusted fantasy points per game to receivers in general. The Vikings are also seeing 42 pass attempts per game. So I think we're going to get there with Tutu Atwell if Matthew Stafford is throwing basically on every down. Colby Parkinson, the tight end, is kind of in and out of the lineup. Demarcus Robinson hasn't really done all that well or much. So I like Tutu in this one. And then this is very similar to a play we had last week. And it's always scary taking unders. I'm not an under guy, but I believe I'm 3-0 on unders. May even be 4-0 on unders. And I'll go under Kyren Williams' rushing total. This has actually been bet up a little bit. The number currently live right now is 74.5. So that's what I'm going to put on the board. And we're going to go under 74.5 for Kyren Williams. Doesn't look like a great schematic matchup for Williams. 66% of his rushing attempts have come on man and gap concepts, and the Vikings allow the fewest yards per carry and the second lowest success rate at 35% on those man and gap runs. They are also seeing only 16.5 rushing attempts per game from running backs. And of course, conversely, facing a very high number of 42.5 pass attempts per game. So I do think this is a throw ball game for Matt Stafford and the Rams in LA. And again, maybe on a short week, we do see a little bit more Blake Corum. So I'm going to go under 74.5 rushing yards for Kyren Williams. I do have a few leans here that we can pop up or pop out. At the very least, Aaron Jones. I'll go over 70.5 rushing yards. It's not an official pick just because I'm a little worried about injuries with Aaron Jones. And I do have bad luck, so I do try to avoid injuries. 68.5, that was the number maybe a couple hours ago. It's been bet up to 70.5. So maybe, I don't know what that thought process is. Maybe thinking it'll be a little bit more competitive with Puka Nacua out there, meaning Jones' snaps. He'll play, all 4 quarters, basically. Matt Stafford, over 242. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this. I believe he'll throw it 40-plus times. The Vikings are facing a league high 42.5 passing attempts per game, as I've mentioned. They have allowed multiple passing touchdowns in 3 straight games, given up the 3rd most schedule-adjusted fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. They also blitz a lot, and I think Stafford, oftentimes can handle that blitz. So for what it's worth, I'll throw it out there. I like Stafford over 242, and I'm not really seeing too much else here in terms of the prop picks, but make sure you stay tuned tomorrow, because from now until tomorrow's show at 2 Eastern, Friday afternoon, I'll be working on my top 10 props that have gone 9-1, 9-1, I think 8-2, and 6-4 last week. 6-4 was a miserable failure last week, so I think we'll get to 7-3 at worst. All we have left is our Thursday night special. What is the Thursday night special? It is a lower end prop, a riskier prop. It kind of started out when on the fantasy sports radio channel on SiriusXM, I kind of popped out a sleeper for the Thursday game, and I hit like 6 in a row, and then it became a thing, and everyone expected me to hit it every single week, which I do not. But we have tweaked it a little bit here because obviously VSiN is a gaming network, so we get a little bit more gaming play oriented. Here's what the Thursday night special is. We're going to go with Tutu Atwell again, believe it or not, and this is an alternative receiving total. It's actually 50.5 right now. Actually, no, my bad. That's what it was. Let me get this straight. It has been bet down to 45.5. 45.5 for Tutu Atwell plus 170. 45.5 for Tutu Atwell plus 170 is the Thursday night special. So if my man gets 46 yards, you're a lucky winner. Not really luck, because luck is the residue of design.
Thanks for watching, but don't let the betting insights end here. If you want an extra edge this football season, you can get a month of VSiN Pro right now absolutely free. That means access to our betting insights, analysis, and tools like our betting splits at 0 cost to you. Click the link in the description to sign up.